Turn with me again to Mark chapter 9. We'll pick it up in verse 14. When they came to the disciples, they saw a great crowd around them, and the scribes arguing with them. Immediately all the crowd, when they saw him, were greatly amazed, and ran up to him and greeted him. And he asked them, "What are you arguing about with them?" And someone from the crowd answered him, "Teacher, I brought my son to you, for he has a spirit that makes him mute. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him down, and he foams and grinds his teeth and becomes rigid. So he asked your disciples to cast it out, and they were not able." He answered them, "O faithless generation, how long am I to be with you? How long am I to bear with you? Bring him to me." They brought the boy to him, and when the spirit saw him, immediately it convulsed the boy, and he fell on the ground and rolled about, foaming at the mouth. And Jesus asked his father, "How long has this been happening to him?" He said, "From childhood, and it has often cast him into fire and into water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us." And Jesus said to him, "If you can, all things are possible for one who believes." Immediately the father of the child cried out and said, "I believe, help my unbelief." When Jesus saw that a crowd came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, "You mute and deaf spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again." And after crying out and convulsing him terribly, it came out, and the boy was like a corpse, so that most of them said, "He is dead." But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he arose. When he had entered the house, his disciples asked him privately, "Why could we not cast it out?" And he said to them, "This kind cannot be driven out by anything but prayer." Well, Jesus reigns and rules. We've been seeing that in the Gospels. We've been seeing that in these different healings of blind and of paralyzed and all these different events that have been going on. And here we get a little twist on things, because there's this whole ruckus happening as they come back to the other disciples and say, "What's going on?" "Well, I brought my son and asked the disciples to cast out this demon, and they couldn't." And notice Jesus' answer, his comment, "O faithless generation." Everything Jesus is doing is to build faith in the disciples and in the disciples that are to come. That's you and me. And so when you read this story, it's not just, wow, Jesus is amazing. No, that's clear. The takeaway for the disciples and for us is faith, and then prayer, and some versions say, and fasting. Notice Jesus asks questions. He cares. How long has this been going on? Well, since childhood. But if you can do anything, have compassion. If? And Jesus says, if you can, all things are possible for one who believes. And immediately, you gotta love it, the Father cries out, "I believe, help my unbelief." Just be real. Just be real. We want to say, hey, I've got the faith to move mountains. The reality is, we should say, "I believe, help my unbelief." Why? Because especially in our world today, we have so much that we rely on and lean on, that Jesus is the next option. And so when we're trying to lean on him, it's still kind of like, well, I'll try it out and see what happens. And the belief that we're to have, the faith that we're to have, I think it's a little different. And so we need some help with that. "I believe, Lord, help my unbelief." And the disciples continue to see and to learn and recognize it's not in their power. Jesus has all the power. We ask him into our lives to work in and through us by his Spirit. Do you have faith today? If not, then I invite you to faith in Jesus Christ. If your faith's wandering and weak, then cry out to God. "I believe, but help my unbelief." Till next time, on Little by Little.